What Ripple is doing with XRP is bigger than Swift. And you don't have to take this from me. I'm going to play a clip from an executive at Ripple who's really breaking this down. With all this Swift FUD going around, I wanted to address this with one more video. And I also wanted to tackle what could be maybe some jealousy, envy, a little bit of FOMO that our community might have when looking at Bitcoin hitting a new all-time high up at 125,000. Projects like BNB hitting a new all-time high up above 1,100 bucks. And here we are holding our $3 XRP. But did you really miss out? We're going to break that down here in today's video. Getting started here. Shout out to Bitcoin, reaching a market cap of 2.5 trillion or 23.8 trillion less than gold. Still a ways to go to catch up to God's money. In other words, gold is currently 10.5 times larger than Bitcoin. So even if Bitcoin did hit $1 million and gold was unchanged, Bitcoin would still only be 75% of the size of gold. We are still early, but the problem with that statement, from Kabesi Letter that we're still early is that we're also still early in the fundamental rally taking place in gold. I still think that you're going to see gold go to much higher prices as well. So it's going to be fun to watch, God's money, historical store of value going back thousands of years versus digital gold, Bitcoin, and can it play catch up? More on that to follow. Now, Eric Trump responding to Patrick Bet David asking him about XRP Ripple. Take a listen in on this, and I'm going to add some comments.
How do you feel about Doge? How do you feel about XRP Ripple? How do you feel about, Ethereum? Where are you with the other three?
Know all of them extremely well. Know Brad very well at XRP, and he's done a great job. Know Ethereum very well. I'm one of the guys who was early on this year saying buy Ethereum as it's crashing, and Ethereum's come ripping back. I mean, I'm a big fan of Bitcoin. I'm a big fan of Ethereum. Bitcoin is digital gold. Ethereum is definitely the oil by which all financial systems are going to run on, and they've done tremendously well. And I think honestly, cryptocurrency, all the altcoins, I think are going to do well as Bitcoin rips. Those are going to follow.
How do you?
The entire system's going to run on Ethereum? I don't think so. Not so fast. And even if you did buy the dip like Eric Trump talked about, you would be up. You'd be up a little bit on your Ethereum, but not as much as XRP. Not as much as you could be even with Bitcoin. That's right. Let's go to Ethereum, and I'll show you on the chart what I'm referencing. If you look back here, I've been measuring since the November 2024 election. But then I went one step further and I measured since the depths of the bear market. Now, yesterday I did a video and I compared XRP to Bitcoin and BNB. I didn't mention Ethereum, but we're going to do that here real quick. So Eric Trump mentioned buy the dip. And yeah, sure, you would be up on your Ethereum if you did. But only about 89% if you bought right before the election. And if you bought during the depths of the bear market in June of 2022 or later that year, you would be up only 407%. At today's price. Now you compare that with Bitcoin, you'd be up about 83% if you bought right before the election. And if you did buy during the depths of the bear market on Bitcoin, well, congratulations, you would be up over 678%. That is pretty good. BNB, also, you'd be up about 109% since the election. Depths of the bear market, June 2022 for BNB, you'd be up 527%. Which sounds fantastic until you compare it with XRP, which is up 504% since the election and up 900% if you bought during the depths of the bear market. Now, in yesterday's video, a couple of people commented and they said, well, you're cherry picking. If you bought, the top in 2018, you'd be down. Well, first off, the top didn't come in 2018. The top has now been set at $3.66 in July of 2025. When you look, that was the kimchi premium South Korean exchanges. There's a distortion. And so XRP went up to $3.84, but nobody actually bought or sold at that level. And it did not last that long up there. And 99% of the community did not buy above $3.40. Most of the community did not buy above $3 unless you're talking about new people that got in within the past year. So it's irrelevant to bring up the data point that, oh, if you bought the top in 2018, you still would be a break even. Nobody did that. Like nearly nobody did that. I can't find anybody that bought the top of 2018 and then also didn't dollar cost average during the depths of the bear market and during lower opportunities. So even the people that did buy the top of 2018 dollar cost averaged in, and now their average price and entry is much lower than $3. But most of the community, about 90% of this community, bought below 50 cents which would be up 500% right now. And you could have done that all the way up until October, November of last year, right before the election. You could have bought 49-cent XRP and be up 500%. But if you were in this community for the past few years, bought during the depths of the bear market, once again, you have your pick. You could have bought BNB, you could have bought Ethereum, you could have bought Bitcoin. Bitcoin, you'd be up 670% if you bought during the sacrifice of Sam Bankman-Fried. Congratulations for those who did. But you would have been far better buying XRP up 900% if you bought during the depths of the bear market. And so XRP is still outperforming all of the top cryptos when you compare it to right before the election, and also when you go back to the depths of the bear market. XRP was your best option. Now let's get to the Swift FUD. And I hope that we can really end this once and for all. It didn't take us long to dispel the Swift FUD. When I asked Grok, how many of the 30 banks that are partnering up with Swift for this new proof of concept sandbox, playing around, a little bit of playtime with Swift at 30 banks, nearly all of them were actually partnered up with Ripple or have been in the past. The only one that wasn't was Wells Fargo, and there's still some connections there. But out of the 30 banks that are now doing a little sandbox playtime with Swift, they're all partnered up with Ripple, and some of them are actually live with Ripple, settling up, doing on-demand liquidity using XRP. The big difference here, and we really got to spread this far and wide so that people understand this, what Ripple and XRP is doing is bigger than Swift. It's not just messaging, which is all that Swift is doing. Swift is messaging, not settlement, not clearing. That's done by the clearinghouses on the back end of the financial system. And so we're not replacing Swift. We're taking it one step further than Swift and actually doing the settlement as well. Don't take it from me. This is Ashish Burla. Let's play this clip.
Questions for you. I'm thinking, is there aim to replace Swift?
Well, I think we have bigger ambitions than replacing Swift. So remember, to move money internationally, there's two components. There's the messaging component, but then you actually have to move the funds. That's not what Swift does. Swift only does the messaging. So they help banks communicate with each other around the world, but the settlement is done out of band. The great thing I think was really, really innovative about crypto and RippleNet is that we do both.
That's right. That's right. It's not just XRP. There's other cryptos too that are doing it, the messaging and the settlement. But it's this network that Ripple has created with their institutional partners for over a decade, this track record that Swift cannot replace. It's going to take 10 years for Swift to catch up. But by then, Ripple and XRP will already be ahead another 10 years. Right. And so Matt Hamilton, who used to be a director, sorry, not a director, but a developer at Ripple, he posts this in response to the Chainlink god, Zach Rector, who's put out a bunch of XRP FUD. He's from Chainlink, the community liaison for Chainlink. He's not doing too much to bridge to other communities when he posts XRP FUD all the time, which also happens to be fake news and not true in most cases. But Matt Hamilton says, remember that time way back when Swift launched a pilot thing called GPI Link, and the Linkies went bat crap crazy, thinking that it meant that Link was being used? Psych. When it was actually R3 Corda, and the outcome of the pilot was, quote, you can't do this without a token. And people forget about this, but they tried to update their messaging to Swift GPI, still didn't solve settlement. The Link Marines, they've been touting their partnership, which doesn't even need the Link token. The Link token doesn't solve the settlement problem. And so, Link can play around with them all they want. It's not getting the problem solved. The 30 banks that have, been playing in the sandbox here with Swift, they're already partnered up and live with Ripple. And so there is no comparison. What Ripple and XRP is doing now, not in a sandbox, not in a trial or proof of concept, what they're already live with now and flowing tens of billions of dollars across is Ripple's on-demand liquidity product, which settles up with XRP. This is live now. No more speculation, no more debate, no clickbait. Just a live network with value flowing right now that we can track. And this is tens of billions of liquidity that Ripple is moving. Set to expand with just look at their acquisition of Hidden Road, the prime brokerage, which settles up $3 trillion on a yearly basis. So Ripple's taking their flows from tens of billions on a yearly basis to trillions. That's what I like to call a quantum leap. Meanwhile, Swift is still playing in the sandbox with Ripple partners. No chance of catching up. So I hope that that really, kind of clears up the confusion and FUD that we've seen in regards to Swift versus XRP and Ripple. And before we sign out for today's video, I do want to give a quick note here and shout out to our sponsor, iTrust Capital. I retweeted them and I said, happy to have partnered with iTrust Capital for helping Americans bridge their retirement accounts over to crypto IRAs. When you use my promo code RECTOR9, you will receive an additional $100 funding bonus after you have funded your account. Now, real quick, for those of you guys that have a retirement account or a 401k, you can fund your account by rolling over an old employer plan. You can contribute through ACH or transfer an existing IRA. They have many different options. These are all funding solutions to fit your needs. We're also one of the only companies that offers in-kind transfers for crypto IRAs, so you can make the switch to iTrust Capital with ease. So if you already have a crypto IRA with somebody else, they can remove or move that over in kind, so you're not going to create a taxable event. The other thing that they have now added is the premium custody account. So if you just want to trade crypto or buy crypto outside of a retirement account, they offer that with institutional grade custody, 1% on the transaction fee. That is the premium custody account. So whether you want the crypto IRA product, which also does sell precious metals, you can buy and trade gold and silver in that account as well. And then they also have the premium custody account. So take advantage of that, linked up at the top of the description. Use my promo code RECTOR9 to get that additional $100 funding bonus. And if you guys appreciate the content that we're putting out on a daily basis, please help us out by liking our content, sharing it out far and wide, and everything is at my website, ZachRector.com. God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.